Hello guys. So welcome to my channel Cracking IELTS 9.0. So today I am back with a new passage. As you can see, the passage says the Industrial Revolution in Britain, right? So this is Cambridge 19 Test 2 Passage 1. And on your right hand side, as you can see, we have the questions here. Okay, so this is fill in the blanks questions and you have to use only one word. Okay, so yeah. And the next set of questions, it is true, false, and not given. Okay, we'll come back to this later once we finish this. Right. So yeah, without wasting any time, let me start the video. And I request you guys to watch the whole video without skipping it because I will be giving a lot of strategies, tips, and tricks on how to crack these type of questions. Okay. So yeah, please follow me closely. Okay, now here we have fill in the blanks. So my strategy for filling the blanks would be I will note down the keywords, whatever is given in the question. I will note down those keywords and I'll find those keywords in the passage and then I'll read that paragraph or that sentence. Okay, so that is the strategy to make it like pretty fast. You don't have to read the whole passage, you just have to read wherever the answer lies, only that paragraph. Okay. So in this way, you can complete one paragraph in less than 20 minutes. Okay. So yeah, so let's not waste any time and let's read the first question. So steam power in Watt and Boulton's steam engine, the moment of dash was linked to the gear system. Okay, now what are the keywords here, guys? Watt and Boulton steam engine. Now, where are these two guys? We have to search in the paragraph. Okay, so I'll go to the paragraph and I'll see where is Watt. Okay, so as far as I can see, here is this guy. Okay, Scottish engineer James Watt. Okay, and then we have this Boulton here. Okay, so let's read this and then we'll understand. Okay. So the foundations of industrial revolution date back to the early 1700s, when the English inventor Thomas designed the first modern steam engine, okay, called the atmospheric steam engine. Newcomen's invention was originally used to power machines that pump water out of mines. In 1760s, the Scottish engineer James Watt started to adapt one of Newcomen's models and succeeded in making it far more efficient. Okay, Watt later worked with the English manufacturer Matthew Boulton to invent a new steam engine driven by both forward and backward strokes of the piston. While the gear mechanism, it was connected to produce rotary motion. It was a key innovation that would allow steam power to spread across British industries. Right? So, yes, we have read something. Now, what was the question? In the steam engine, the movement of the dash was linked to the gear system. Okay. Movement. Where was the movement? Yes, I think I read it here, right? So Watt later worked with Boulton to invent a new steam engine driven by both the forward and backward strokes of the piston. While the gear system, it was connected to produce rotary motion. It means this piston. So the movement of the piston was linked to the gear system. Movement means the forward and backward strokes. That is the movement, right? So this was a very direct answer. It's a very easy one. So yes, my answer would be piston, right? Okay, good. Now let's move to the next one. A greater supply of dash was required to power the steam engines. He's talking about powering the steam engines and supply. What was that? Now let's read, keep reading further because all this belongs to the steam power, right? So we might have our answer in this paragraph or the next paragraph. Okay, right. So the demand for coal, which was a relatively cheap energy source, grew rapidly during the Industrial Revolution as it was needed to run not only the factories used to produce manufactured goods, but also steam powered transportation. Wow. So yes, steam powered transportation, power steam engines, a greater supply of dash was required. What is the need? Requirement means demand. The demand for coal grew rapidly. See, a greater supply. See, grew rapidly means greater supply, it means. So greater supply of coal was required to power steam engines. Yes, coal, demand for coal has increased. Okay, yeah. So what is the question number two? Here I have the coal. Yes, we got it. So let's move to the next one. Now, textile industry is talking about textile. I think in the next paragraphs, we are going to talk about textiles, right? So yes, let's read this one then. Britain has produced textiles like wool, linen, and cotton for hundreds of years. But prior to the Industrial Revolution, the British textile business was a true cottage industry, with the work performed in small workshops or even homes by individual spinners, weavers, and dyers. Starting in the mid 1700s, innovations like the spinning jenny and the power loom were made weaving cloth and spinning yarn and thread much easier. With these machines, relatively little labor was required to produce cloth, and the new mechanized textile factories that opened around the country were quickly able to meet customer demand for cloth both at home and abroad. Okay. Now, what is the question? Before the Industrial Revolution, spinners and weavers worked at home and in dash. So, what is the keyword, guys? Spinners and weavers. So, where did we read about that? Here, right? Spinners and weavers, right? You see this? Now, we'll read this sentence and try to understand. Okay. So, what is it? Britain has produced textiles like wool, linen, cotton for hundreds of years, but prior to the revolution, British textile business was a true cottage industry with the work performed in small workshops or even homes by individual spinners, weavers, dyers. Wow. So worked at home and in dash. So it was home and in small workshops, right? We cannot write two words. We have to write only one word. So what is the answer? Workshops. Yeah, that was pretty easy and direct answer, guys. Okay. Right. Next. Not as much dash was needed to produce cloth once the spinning jenny and power loom were invented. Okay, he is talking about spinning jenny. This one, right? So it is here. Let us read this sentence. So starting in mid 1700s, innovations like the spinning jenny and the power loom made weaving cloth and spinning yarn and thread much easier. Okay, with these machines, relatively little labor was required to produce cloth. That's what he said. So not as much dash was needed to produce cloth. So what are the keywords here? Relatively little. Yeah, was required. Required and needed. They are synonyms. So what is the answer? Relatively little labor. So little labor is our answer, but only one word. So what is our answer? Obviously it is labor. Okay, so labor is my answer. Next. So iron industry. He's talking about the iron industry now. So yeah, let's move to the next set of questions. Okay. The British iron industry also underwent major change as it adopted new innovations. Chief among the new techniques was smelting of iron ore with coke, a material made with heating coal instead of the traditional charcoal. Okay. This method was cheaper and produced metals that were of higher quality, enabling Britain's iron and steel production to expand in response to demand and created by the Napoleonic Wars and the expansion of the railways from the 1830s. Okay, good. So, what was the question then? Smelting of iron ore with coke resulted in material that was better dash. So, where did we read about smelting the iron? So yes, techniques was the smelting of iron ore with coke instead of traditional charcoal. This method was cheaper and produced metals that were of a higher quality. Okay, so smelting iron ore resulted in materials that was better dash. So higher quality, better quality. That is our answer, right? So this was also pretty easy. So no difficulty so far, right? So far, so good. Right. Next one, demand for iron increase with the growth of the dash. Now he's talking about the demand for iron has increased with the growth of dash. That is our answer. Okay. Now enabling Britain's iron and steel production to expand in response to demand created by Napoleonic wars and the expansion of railways from 1830s. Growth. See guys, growth and expansion. These two are synonyms. So expansion of railways. So demand for iron increased with the growth of railways. Yeah, that's the right answer. That was also pretty easy, right? Right, right. So urbanization. He's talking about urbanization. Communications. I think this paragraph is about communication, right? But here, this para was also like, I think, small towns turned into cities very quickly. Okay, I think this is about, this paragraph is about urbanization, right? Let us read this one. The impact of industrial revolution on people's life was immense. Although many people in Britain began moving to cities from rural areas before the industrial revolution, this accelerated dramatically with industrialization as the rise of large factories turned small towns into major cities in just a few decades. Okay, this rapid urbanization brought significant challenges as overcrowded cities suffered from pollution and inadequate sanitation. Okay, so that was a good paragraph. Urbanization. Small towns turned into cities very quickly. New cities were dirty, crowded, and lacked sufficient dash. Okay, we read here about crowded, right? So this urbanization, okay, brought significant changes. Overcrowded cities. So crowded, it is matching. Suffered from pollution. So dirty, it is matching, and lacked sufficient. There was lacking. Inadequate is matching with the lacking. What is the answer then? Lacked sufficient sanitation, right? Yes, that was also a direct answer, right? There is no difficulty so far. So far, so good. And let us move to the next set of questions. That is nothing but true, false, or not given. Okay. Now, okay. Now, what is this? It is true. We have to write true if the statement agrees with the information. We have to write false if it is contradicting with the information. Not given if there is no information on this. Okay. So, yeah. First question, Britain's canal network grew rapidly so that more goods could be transported around the country. So, did we read anything about canal network? I think yes. Where did we read it? Britain's canals networks. I think we have read it before. Where was that? Which paragraph? I think here, guys. Okay. Yes. So the thing is, guys, you have to remember whatever you read. Okay. If you read and forget, then that is not going to help you. Okay. So please be attentive and you have to remember as much as possible. Okay. Now, what does he say here? Look at this. In the early 1800s, the engineer Richard built a steam powered locomotive. By 1830, goods and passengers were being transported between industrial centers of Manchester and Liverpool. Okay. In addition, steam powered boats and ships were widely used to carry goods along Britain's canals as well as across the Atlantic. Okay. Now, what does he say here? Britain's canal network grew rapidly. He's talking about the canal network and it says it grew rapidly so that more goods could be transported around the country. Okay. Now, did he talk about the canal network growing rapidly? Yes or no? What did he spoke about? He said steamboats and ships were widely used to carry goods. Across Britain's canals. That's it. Nowhere he mentioned that canals grew rapidly to carry the goods, right? No. He did not extend but this is an extended question, which is not given in the paragraph. So, yes, we cannot say. No information is given about this because no information about canal network growing rapidly. Okay. So, yes, what is your answer, guys? My answer would be obviously not given. Okay. Right. Next, costs in the iron industry rose when the technique of smelting iron ore with coke was introduced. Okay, let us read. Where did we read about smelting iron ore? Do you remember? Yes or no? Yes, smelting of iron ore with coke. This was the paragraph we read about. So that was the same. He's talking about what costs. Costs rose, he says. Mean there was some increase in cost. That's what he said. Now, British iron industry also underwent major changes as it adopted new innovations. Chief among the new techniques was smelting of iron ore instead of traditional charcoal. This method was cheaper. Okay, got the answer. This method was cheaper and produced high metals that were of higher quality. Okay. In the passage, he says this is cheaper method, but he says costs in the iron industry rose when the technique of smelting iron was introduced. So what is the answer, guys? It exactly opposite meaning, right? The statement is contradicting. So what is our answer? It should be false, right? Okay, done. This is the false. Next, Samuel Morse's communication system was more reliable than the developed by William and Charles. Okay, we don't know who are these guys. Okay, so it is here William, Charles, Samuel. Okay, let us read this paragraph. The latter part of the Industrial Revolution also saw key advances in communication methods as people increasingly saw the need to communicate effectively over long distances. Okay, in 1837, British inventors William and Charles patented the first commercial telegraphy system. In 1830s and 40s, Samuel Morse and other inventors worked on their own versions in United States. Okay, Cook and Wheatstone system was soon used for railway signaling in the UK. As the speed of the new locomotives increased, it was essential to have fast and effective means of avoiding collisions. Okay. Now here he says Samuel's communication system was more reliable than that by William and Charles. So he's comparing these two and telling that he is better. Samuel's communication was more reliable. Did we read anything about that? So William and Charles patented the first telegraphy system. Then Samuel Morse and other inventors worked on their versions in the US. And Coke and Bison was soon used for railway signaling in the UK. As the speed of, yeah. So nowhere in the paragraph they compared these two. Okay. They did not compare and they did not say which one is more reliable. So yes, we cannot say the information is not sufficient and the answer is not given. Okay. Right. Let us move to the 11th question. The economic benefits of industrialization were limited to certain sectors of the society. So he's talking about economic benefits and they were limited, means restricted to some sections of the society. Let us read industrialization, right? So in the next para itself, we have industrialization. So let us read this one, okay? So, although industrialization increased the country's economic output overall and improved the standard of living for the middle and upper classes, but many poor people continued to struggle. Wow, I think we got the answer here itself. Did you find it, guys? So, here he says economic benefits were limited to certain sectors. What did he say? Overall, okay, output overall and improved standard of living for middle and upper classes. Many poor people continue to struggle. Yes. So they were limited to middle and upper classes. Those two were the certain sectors of the society. Okay. But poor people, they were still struggling. So yes, 11th one is exactly true, right? I hope you're understanding, guys. I hope so. Just leave a comment if you have any doubts in any particular question or any other passage. Just leave a comment, okay? I'll try to answer you as much as possible. Now, some skilled viewers believed that the introduction of the new textile machines would lead to job losses. He is talking about viewers now. Let us read further. I think interesting stories. Okay, so factory workers had to work long hours in dangerous conditions for extremely low wages. So these conditions, along with the rapid pace of change, fueled opposition to industrialization. A group of British workers who became known as Luddites were British weavers and textile workers who objected to the increased use of mechanized looms and frames, knitting frames. Okay, many had spent years learning their craft and they feared that unskilled machine operators were robbing them of their livelihood. A few desperate weavers began breaking into factories and smashing the textile machines. They called themselves Luddites after Ned Ludd. Okay, a young apprentice who was rumored to have wrecked the textile machine in 1779. Yes, that is the thing. So, yeah, what does he say? Some skilled weavers believed that introduction of new textile machines would lead to job losses. I think we read something about that right here. A group of British workers called Luddites were British weavers and workers who objected to increased use of mechanized looms and knitting frames. See, many had spent years learning their craft and they feared that unskilled machine operators were robbing them of their livelihood. Livelihood means job loss. Robbing them off means job losses. Yes, they feared means they believed. Yes. Some viewers believe that introduction of new textile machines will lead to job losses. It is true. Yes, exactly. This one is exactly matching with whatever is given in the paragraph. So what is our answer, guys? Obviously, it is true, right? Okay, next, what is the last one? There was some there was some sympathy among local people for the Luddites who were arrested near Huddersfield. I think here we have this Huddersfield, right? Let us read this paragraph, no problem. The first major instance of machine breaking took place in 1811 in the city of Nottingham, and the practice soon spread across the country. Machine breaking Luddites attacked and burned factories, and in some cases, they even exchanged gunfire with company guards and soldiers. Okay. The workers wanted employers to stop installing new machinery, but the British government responded to the uprisings by making machine breaking punishable by death. The unrest finally reached its peak in April 1812 when a few Luddites were shot during an attack on a mill near Huddersfield. In the days that followed, other Luddites were arrested and dozens were hanged or transported to Australia. By 1813, the Luddite resistance had all but vanished. Okay. Now, what is the question, guys? There was some sympathy. So, he was talking about some sympathy among local people for Luddites who were arrested near the Huddersfield. So, this is the Huddersfield sentence. The unrest finally reached its peak in 1812 when Luddites were shot during an attack near Huddersfield. But nowhere in the passage we read that there was some sympathy for these guys. Did we read anything like that? No, right? So, yes. So, what should be your answer, guys? There is no information about sympathy, right? We don't know they had sympathy or not. So I think I have answered all the questions, guys. So that was the end of this passage. I hope you guys have learned some tips and tricks from this video. And I hope this video will be helpful for you in taking your IELTS test. Okay. So keep supporting me. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like my explanation. And please share my video with your friends as much as possible. That will motivate me to do as many videos as possible. So yeah. So let us meet in another video with a new passage. So until then, goodbye. Have a good day.